Okay. Yeah, just starting off, having had a chance to watch the tape from yesterday, knowing what kind of challenge the New York Jets would present. It's a really good football team, really well-coached football team. I was proud of our group for finding a way once again to overcome and find a way to close that out and get our 10th win. A lot of opportunities throughout the game to continue to improve, both myself and our team and our coaching staff that we're working through in the hopes of, the constant attempt to improve as a team each and every week and still rely on a lot of these moments we've been able to win football games and knowing that that's the most important thing in the end. But it is my job ultimately to evaluate everything about how we're playing and in hopes of being at our best here as we continue to move forward. Mention some of the real positives that I thought, we continue to show up from a standpoint of winning the penalty battle, winning the turnover battle. I thought situationally our team's been really solid these last two games, and that's been a real, secret to us being able to sustain enough on offense to score enough points to win, as well as defensively to hold people out of the end zone and attempt to get off the field as well on third down. When we can force opponents into those situations, and it'll be something that we'll continue to practice and emphasize and rely on our core players to help push us through to success in those phases. And looking forward to this week, going to be a real big challenge for us. We understand that we're playing a really good football team that's playing some of the best football of their season. And you got to give a lot of credit to Dan and his staff and that team. When you turn on the tape, you see a really good football team in all three phases. That you can see the confidence coming through and where they're headed as a football team. So we've got to play one of our best games this week, in my opinion, to give ourselves a chance to go get our 11th win and leave no doubt in becoming the NFC North champions for this season. But it's going to be a heck of a challenge, and we know that. And we've got to have an unbelievably solid week of preparation to get us to that point.
All right, we'll start with Chris, Joe, and then Matthew.
Oh, hey, Kevin. You guys are 9-0 this year in one-score games. I mean, how incredible is that? NFL Network was saying it's some kind of NFL record or some sort. How incredible is that? And what are the factors you believe lead you to be 9-0 in one-score games?
Well, Chris, I think, I just don't think it's an accident that our team, we keep on using the term finding ways to win, doing enough to win. The important thing is in those moments, whether it is situational football, understanding how, clock management and how our team plays a role in that in all three phases, how we can play smart, aggressive football, but also understand we're setting ourselves up to do those things to win those games in the end. This is a very competitive league. Each and every Sunday feels like no matter what your intent may be as a team, you're still going to go out and have to find ways to impose your will and ultimately win football games. So to win those games in those types of circumstances, I do know our team is confident. When we can get into the fourth quarter of these games with, winnable situations out in front of us, sometimes they're in our control. Sometimes you've got to make the things happen that gets it to be in your control. And when those things happen, I feel like our guys are confident that we're going to win those games because they've done it and they've proven it, regardless of how it shakes out or stacks up against previous teams in this league. I just know that this team this year, the emphasis we've put on being good in those moments and making it a critical factor for our organization to be good in those moments. Our players have gone out and done that, and I think it's a huge reason why we've been able to get to a 10-2 record this year.
Yeah, Kevin, Kirk is normally one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. He was missing some passes yesterday he normally can make in his sleep. But then at the end of the fourth quarter, he came through big time. What kind of spurred the change in Kirk? Did you see something that all of a sudden you realized that made him all of a sudden get back to that tight, accurate passer?
Yeah, I think Kirk's been very, very accurate all season long. Not something that I did not expect. I think I told you guys, at my opening press conference, I've always thought Kirk is one of the more accurate quarterbacks I've ever been around. I think in games, there can be different things, different factors that can, kind of tell the story sometimes, and they're not always the same thing, whether it's, leakage in the pocket or maybe just, the rhythm and timing of things getting thrown off, either, by the design of the defense or poor design by me. But ultimately, as you said, particularly on that touchdown drive, I thought it all kind of came together. We saw some consistent snaps of all 11 guys doing their job and, stacking some plays together. And we can see what that looks like when we do that. I don't worry one bit about Kirk. Even in game, if he's missed a throw or two, they all have their own stories, and it doesn't change at all. My intent with the very next play call or 5 play calls after that. The expectation is that he's going to drop back, find the open man, and deliver the football like he's done a lot this year. I continue to think he does a great job avoiding sacks and using the throwaway as a drive extending type play, trying to keep us out of some of those long yardage situations that can be pretty catastrophic for an offense. And then ultimately where the hope is every time we drop him back or we play pass or try to do our phase of offense that we're particularly working that snap, that it's going to be successful. It doesn't always work out that way. And I think one of the big parts about playing quarterback in the NFL is maybe when it's not perfect, when it's not ideal, can you make it a positive play? And Kirk's proven he can do that, relying on his teammates, relying on doing his job. And I have nothing but 100% confidence that he's going to continue to do that.
Hey, Kevin, just with Jalen Reagor, the last couple of weeks, he's kind of come through with a couple of big plays. I guess I was wondering where you see him fitting in and if you feel like he's sort of grown with the offense throughout this year during practice.
Yeah, Matt, I'm glad you asked about him. I'm proud of where Jalen's at, and we've tried to start infusing him more and more in the offense. Every week, we're allowing him to grow and understanding that he didn't have kind of the teaching progression that a lot of our players had within the confines of our whole offense. But what, a few weeks back, I challenged Jalen. I just said, hey, the more and more comfortable you can get and feel like you can go out and execute all the different jobs and maybe even at multiple positions, the more opportunity I want you to get. And I think a play like yesterday comes to mind where, we have him in the game with a chance to get him down the field. Kirk gives him an opportunity, and Jalen finds a way to make that a long completion right there. Whether we're getting him the ball as part of a phase of our run game or screen game or just having him in there as one of our 11 guys in the huddle, I think he brings a dimension to our offense that is, that helps us. That I think he's an explosive player. He's proven that as our punt returner and good with the ball in his hands. And he, I think he's, really done a nice job getting with Keenan McCardell and Tony Sorrentino and just trying to continue to play catch up on some time that he wasn't with us in the hopes here as the games click off and we get into December and hopefully beyond, that he can be a factor for us. So we'll continue to find ways to get him on the field. I think he's earned that opportunity. And I'm really proud of where Jalen's at and hopefully where he's headed.
Next, we'll go Alec, Ben, and then Andrew.
Yeah, hey, Kevin. I don't know if you can remember your thought process, but I'm curious, like on that 4th and 2, I think it was the first quarter, just what were you considering and thinking about and going for that at that time?
Yeah, I just felt like it was a real momentum, opportunity in the game. And on the previous snap, it kind of reminded me in a lot of ways, just having blinked, our game against the Lions when we went for it on a 4th down, where I felt like being aggressive in that mode to try to not only continue that drive, but let's go get points on this drive. I felt like it was important for our team, and I've got a lot of confidence in our guys and on that play. Kirk was really good, set his feet, had a chance maybe to Justin, and they kind of covered him. And then KJ shows up right in the void. The details of KJ's route, Kirk's footwork, the accuracy, the tight window type throw, pitch and catch, and a conversion right there. I think that was a real moment to grab some momentum in the game, and I was glad that our guys capitalized on that. But I'm always going to treat each situation as its own, and sometimes it is a feel thing based upon where we're at in the game, how the other three phases are competing at that time, and then ultimately where I think we can ultimately take that drive with a new set of downs, and then like on that drive, able to go down and get a touchdown.
Kevin, you talked about it a little bit yesterday with the third quarter lulls, but I guess, is there a theme that you see there in terms of why the third quarter has been kind of a consistent problem for you guys throughout the season?
When you look at the time of possession being pretty close, like it was yesterday, I think there's a combination of a lot of things. I think our execution level can be better. I think as a coaching staff, we can continue to come out, and although maybe there's some things, hey, we like this, this looks good, whatever it may be, let's make sure we're calling things that give us the best chance of staying on schedule and sustaining drives, especially it seems like getting that first down, Ben, and then hopefully triggering the tools that we can apply, pressure to the defense, maybe some no huddle, maybe some different personnel groupings, but it's that first set of downs where we got to have positive plays. We got to have the ability to come out of the locker room and have all 11 guys doing their job, give them a clear-cut plan of attack of how we're going to go do that. And I think we got to continue to improve just overall. That's everyone, coaches and players, finding out how we can go do that and capitalize on getting the first possession of the second half. And then I think defensively, finding ways to get the ball back to us on offense, and maybe not making it such a pressure-packed situation to where if we don't have success, we may not see the ball back for a few minutes there. So I think that's the complementary football term that we use. It sure falls on me. I feel as much as anybody, if not more than anybody, it falls on me to make sure I figure out ways to help where we can, and then giving our players a chance to go make plays in those moments to get kind of the momentum reestablished that we had in that first half when we went into the locker room with a 20-6 lead.
Hey, Kevin, you mentioned last night just your confidence in the red zone defense when you guys are backed up in some of those spots. I think you guys have done pretty well the last two games. I'm just curious, where have you seen the improvement, if there's any specific areas?
Well, I just look back on, I think when the field shrinks and there's just not as much space, to defend, and it allows us to naturally tighten some things up and trigger downhill. I think whether you think about Cam's interception or maybe the close interception that Harrison almost had previously, there's not as much vertical grass to defend, so we can be that much tighter with our keys, reading our keys, and triggering route concepts, because there's only so many things people can do once the initial pattern kind of declares. And I give our safeties a ton of credit for how they've impacted kind of the game in those situations. And then I think our linebackers in front tackling, not allowing people to get easy runs to where they can establish new sets of downs and momentum all the way down to getting it in there tight. And then I will say, although they ended up overturning that quarterback sneak, just the physicality that, guys like Tonga and getting DT and Harrison Phillips going, just in the interior, even when teams get it deep inside our territory, inside our 5, inside our 3, inside our 1, our guys are still able to bow up and just try to make it hard on the opponent. That, again, make them snap it one more time, and a lot goes into that. It's easier said than done. But I think yesterday was a perfect example, and I'm glad you made the point. I think we're, teams against on that Thursday or yesterday, I think our defense going back 2 games now, they've given up touchdowns on 1 of 9 red zone possessions. There's still some explosives clearly there, and there's still people are moving the ball, but to keep them out of the end zone and hold them to 3 or in some cases 0 gives us a chance offensively to then put a drive together for 7. And I think at that point, we were able to at one point get it to 27-15, and they come back and score pretty quickly there and then it's tight from there on out. But those are little times that we'll continue to look at. Okay, it gets to 27-15. Offensively, what can we do to try to shut the door, and then defensively, can we find that one stop in that critical time to then kind of put the game away? It doesn't always have to be at the 5-yard line. It can be a little further out, but give our guys a lot of credit for getting that done and getting us that 10th win.
Yeah, Kevin, where are you at left tackle with Christian Darrisaw, and also at cornerback with Caleb Evans and Cam Dantzler as well?
Yeah, so CD, he progressed really well through the week last week. I think you guys probably even saw he practiced a little bit later in the week. He'll continue to phase through the last few protocols that exist, and then we'll continue to take it one day at a time with CD's health and safety as the utmost priority. Tyler, Uriah, and our doctors and the independent doctors, they've done a great job kind of staying true to making sure that so as the week goes on, we'll see how CD does, phasing through, hopefully getting some more practice time in, and then we'll evaluate go here. But I think he's in a good place right now. Get him back when he's ready to go, and we all feel like he can go out high level that he's had. What a year CD has had for us. And then Caleb, he is in the protocol. I'll go ahead and let you guys know we're going to rule him out already, just to make sure that having had his third now concussion, we'll go ahead and rule him out, and it's gonna we're gonna have him go through the process and protocols here. But I want to make sure Caleb and our staff, we're doing everything we can in our power to make sure we're before Caleb plays again, we want to make sure it's 100% the right timing for him, because we care more about the player health and safety of a player like a Caleb. Although it was great having him back, and I thought he really flashed in the moments he was out there, it's about his health, and will always be about that, and has been that he received.
And I'm sorry, Dantzler as well, Cam Dantzler.
Yeah, Dantzler should more than likely he'll practice fully this week, and we should have a great chance to have Cam out there with us. I'd never want to, projecting a little bit, fully practicing and how he'll feel the day after, and actually getting to cover receivers and be a part of our plan. But we're expecting to have him out there and progress through the week in the hopes of playing on Sunday. Sorry about that.
Last one, Don.
So, Kevin, this is kind of a two-part question. First, Pat Jones has been playing really well. I think this last game he really showed it. And also, when you talked about those goal line stands and the field shrinking, they talk about defending a blade of grass. But mentally, we have seen teams in the past where if you have 2 or 3 kind of close together goal line stands, they're emotionally exhausted. But your team seems to actually be invigorated.
Don, I'm so sorry. You guys all cut out there for a second. Do you guys have me?
Yeah, I have you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think my connection cut off. Why don't you go ahead and ask your question again? I don't want to miss anything.
Okay, so it was about Pat Jones. The second part was about when we're in those goal line situations and there's multiples. Some teams they get emotionally and physically exhausted, but your team seem to gain energy when they're defending the blade of grass, like they say.
Yeah, first and foremost, Pat Jones. I think he's been phenomenal against the run. I think he's been one of our more physical players throughout the whole season. And that showed up again yesterday, a couple of those snaps of him on the edge, really just completely dominating the matchup, setting the edge, and in a couple cases getting the ball carrier on the ground. That's been huge for us. And then to speak to your point about those goal line scenarios, that's something that you really never really know. Situations, how your guys are going to respond. A lot of time it's one man, one gap. It's at that point of attack, and it's all about the low man wins, the anchoring down and just trying to literally defend every blade of grass, because when you get down to that 1 foot, 1 inch line, they either get in or they don't. And it's a mentality, it's a thought process that collectively as a group, I think, guys like EK and Jordan Hicks, Dalvin Tomlinson, Harrison Phillips, those guys decide and they really try to elevate the play. They get together in that huddle and say, hey, here's the call, and that's great. About us going and winning our individual matchups and making sure we dominate the line of scrimmage in this moment to just not allow the other. So it's a mentality thing, and I'm sure the offenses feel the same way. But then the ball is snapped and a lot gets determined from there.
Thanks, everyone. We'll have Alexander Madison up short.